Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, heading back out to the Big 12 as the Kansas Jayhawks head on the road to the Texas Longhorns in what is a top 25 matchup. And I'll say this about the Kansas Jayhawks, that is a legit top 25 team. This offense is just so fun to watch, so dynamic, one of the better quarterbacks in the country, one of the better running backs in the country, really good wide receivers. Then you look at this Texas Longhorns team, and I've said this in the offseason, I'll say it again right now. This team checks all the boxes of winning a national championship, right? Quarterback with explosive wide receivers, really physical up front on that offensive line. And then you look at the defense, specifically in that front seven. This might be one of the best front sevens that we see across the country. We had a lot of conversation about Texas and what they can do in 2023. And we kind of said it starts in the trenches. This is a different Texas team in terms of the trenches. And you have seen that throughout this year. Couple of really interesting matchups I want to get into with these two teams. Now, before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. I have such a blast going back, watching these games and giving you guys these game previews. But the support from you guys, it truly does mean a lot. So one, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, and again, the best part about doing this is learning from you guys, talking about with you guys in the comment section. Again, whether you agree with me, whether you disagree, that is the beauty of this. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. And without further ado, let's get into this. And I want to start with this Kansas offense going up against the Texas defense it's so good. And you look at this Texas team from all three levels on the defensive side of the ball, in elite defensive line with physicality, with edge rushers. You look at that linebacker room, Jalen Ford, I think one of the best linebackers in the country. Anthony Hill really starting to turn it on. You're seeing him every time he steps on the field, watching him against a team like Alabama, Wyoming, Baylor. He is progressing. We know he has the physical traits. Now you're seeing him kind of learn that college level of ball. He is really good. Bend is really good. Then you look at the back end and really, really solid group. I mean, Barron, Watts, Malik Muhammad's playing really good ball. Gavin Holmes, Jaden Catalan. The list kind of goes on and on. And I mean, this is a Texas team that on the defensive side of the ball hasn't produced a ton of NFL draft talent. You look up and down this roster, a lot of these guys are going to be picked in the NFL draft and be playing on Sundays within 12 months or in the next couple of years. They'll have a really big test. And I think the most interesting part about this in this Kansas offense is it tests you in different ways, right? This is a team that it gives you a lot of misdirection, a lot of different ways it can hurt you. And it starts with that quarterback, Jalen Daniels, completing 74% of his balls, 5 touchdowns to 1 interception. This offense has an elite rushing attack that spreads you out and makes you cover every inch of grass on that football field. Devin Neal, one of the best running backs in the country, elite shake. What I'm most interested in is Kansas trying to get this Texas defense in space. And I'm not necessarily saying Texas can't tackle in space. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying this Kansas offensive line probably won't be able to move Texas off the line of scrimmage. That being said, they don't really rely on that. They try to get you out in space, try to give you some misdirection. They test those safeties a lot in terms of covering assignments, not blowing coverages. That's where I'm most interested in, right? You've seen Texas play teams like Baylor and Alabama that kind of want to road grade you, kind of want to be physical. And there is not many teams that can do that. You saw Texas go toe-to-toe with Alabama and take it to that offensive line. They did the same thing against Baylor. This is a Kansas offense that's not necessarily going to try to grind you down. It's going to try to spread you out, attack the seams, attack the space on the field. I'm most interested to see this Texas defense that, again, elite numbers, 2.7 yards per carry against this defense, 55% completion percentage, elite at both sides or at the back end and in the front seven. I'm really interested to see if this Kansas team can use its speed, can use that space on the field to attack this Texas defense that we haven't really seen them go to work against. I mean, Skinner, Arnold, Grimmer, Fairchild, really, really loaded Kansas offense going up against an elite Texas defense. This is going to be a phenomenal matchup. Now, on the flip side, this Kansas defense, and we said this heading into the summer, we knew this Kansas offense was going to be good. It was really good last year when Jalen Daniels was healthy, right? Devin Neal, all the receivers coming back. This offense has not surprised me. We said if this Kansas team is going to be a true top 25 team, they're going to need to take some steps on the defensive side of the ball, specifically in that front seven, stopping the run. They've been pretty damn good, right? Only 3.4 yards per carry to opposing running backs. That's really good, only giving up 4.9 yards per play. This Kansas defense, and it doesn't take you long, right? You turn on the film And you see they're bigger, faster, stronger. Coach Leipold is doing a phenomenal job retooling this defense. Right, Booker, Kenny Logan, Marvin Grant, Rich Mill. I mean, there are some serious playmakers on this Kansas defense. They'll easily have their biggest test going up against the Texas offense that I told you that Kansas can beat you in a lot of different ways. This Texas Longhorns team, with the star power and talent they have, it certainly can get after you in a lot of different ways. And they got Coach Sark calling the plays. Quinn Ewers, my biggest statistic, 0 interceptions on the season. He's taking care of the football at an extremely high level. He was dicing up that Baylor defense. You're seeing Quinn, like we knew he had the arm talent. You knew he had the playmakers around him. You wanted to see him settle in, take command of that offense. I think he's certainly doing that. The game seems to have slowed down for him, and I think it really helps when you talk about an offensive line that is elite in pass protection, can run the football. You talk about Texas checking all the boxes. They certainly seem like that. And I want to talk about how they're kind of attacking in this passing attack. You have Xavier Worthy and AD Mitchell, two top 10 wide receivers. Xavier Worthy might be one of the best wide receivers in the country. AD Mitchell would certainly put him in that category too. When you have two elite wide receivers on the perimeter, I mean, JT Sanders is feasting on the middle of the field. He seems to always catch the football in space. Talk about a tight end who's a matchup nightmare, especially with the football in his hands. I mean, breaking tackles, getting loose in open space. They're doing a really good job scheming up JT Sanders. And that's probably the most impressive part of this offense. And I want to give a shout out to Jordan Whittington. One of my favorite players at the college football level, not just because I think he's an elite wide receiver. He would be a wide receiver one on a lot of FBS programs. He's the fourth pass catcher on this team. Fifth-year senior, was a 5-star coming out of high school. This is a guy that knows he's not the go-to target in this offense, blocks his tail off down the field, is really tough over the middle of the field. Everyone wants to talk about Xavier Worthy and JT Sanders, AD Mitchell. Man, Jordan Whittington is that absolute dude. And you take a look at the run game. I mean, I as a recruiting nerd, was kind of like CJ Baxter's going to take over this backfield. Jonathan Brooks, and some of y'all, to credit the Texas fans, were saying, hey, do not forget about Brooks in that backfield. He seems to be the guy that probably taking over that backfield, running behind a really good offensive line. He's averaging 5.8 yards per carry. It's a balanced offense, right? And you want to kind of say this Texas team can beat you with the run, with the physicality up front. It can beat you hitting that deep ball with guys like AD Mitchell, Xavier Worthy. It can beat you over the middle of the field with Whittington and JT Sanders. Not many parts of this Texas offense that are not complete. Now, getting to the pick, Kansas heading on the road, 17-point underdogs. I think Texas wins this game, right? And you guys know how high, and this is not me knocking Kansas. I think Kansas is going to finish in the top 25. This is a very good Kansas team that's made some serious strides on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not necessarily going to pick Texas to cover this one. One, you got a little bit of a look ahead game. Two, this Kansas offense, I think, can put up some points. That being said, I just don't know if they have the dudes up front yet to deal with how physical Texas is on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Give me Texas, but I'm not necessarily trying to take them to cover the points here because 17 is a lot of points. This Kansas team, and Texas fans know this. I don't think if you're a casual college football fan that checks some box scores, you might not know how good this Kansas team is and how much they've improved the last couple of years. If you watch this game, if you watch the last couple of Kansas games, like you're figured out. This is a very, very good team that's going to be a nice tune-up for Texas that is going to give you some of the same looks that Oklahoma is going to give you too. So a nice tune-up for the defense. Give me Texas to take care of business at home, but not necessarily cover this number. This is going to be a really exciting game. I cannot wait for this one. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the boys like you guys have. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.